Good afternoon. This is another episode of On the Line. I'm Joe Mullings.
And I'm Holly Scott.
And today, career advice. 20% sales, 80% marketing. That's how you want to balance out your activities. And we're going to discuss that you're really mindful about understanding what moves or what. Holly and I had discussed a number of times, people get caught up too much in career advice, and a majority of it indexes towards job search.
Yeah, you get into desperation mode when you're actively looking. However, we're talking about more strategically thinking through your career on the long game, right? And how that should be managed.
Yeah, so most advice that's given out these days is a lot more focused on how to get a job, how to look for a job, how to interview for a job, how to follow up after a job. I mean, we're all guilty of making those the points of discussion, but if you think about it, I would say at any point in time, about 8 to 10% of the population is looking for a job. Mm-hmm. That means the other 92% is happily employed and should be spending their time marketing their careers to their current employer as well as to the market in general, mm-hmm. right? And those marketing techniques should revolve around lobbying for better offers, should be around promotions, should be around attending seminars that'll build out your skill set. When you look at your resume, your marketing moves are the things that when you look at your resume, you ask yourself, how do I want that resume to look in 3 years from now when I am? That's the question that you want to take out your resume right now and say, what on there would I like it to say? And then what you need to do is get in the marketing mindset of your current employer or maybe a future employer, mm-hmm. and start mapping activities that lead to that. And that's just like a sales marketing function.
Right, and like we say, it's not or, right? It's and. You can work within a current organization and strategically be thinking about and mapping towards experience and things that you want to get, whether it's internally or externally, and things that you feel will move you along in the right direction.
Yeah, so your marketing is your LinkedIn. So here's how you think about it, everybody. I don't care if you're a sales marketing person or not. You're only in sales activity mode in your career when you're looking for a new job. Just that's it. You're not in sales at any time. The rest of that time is you're developing your own sort of career brand in the eyes of your current employer if you're not looking for a job. So therefore, you have to say, okay, that's my customer. Because when I go in for my annual review or I go in for my quarterly review, and if you're only getting an annual review, your next marketing move is to ask for a quarterly review, even if it's not a merit review. Because why would you be on a path to somewhere if you only had 1 point of adjustment during that journey? That's insane. Mm-hmm. If you're going to judge me a year from now and you're not going to give me check-ins between now and then, I don't know if I'm on or off course.
Yeah, and I think to back up on, to get to that ask, carving out what you're looking to accomplish and that body of work that you want to display, and you mentioned branding and branding at LinkedIn, whatever that might be. In totality, you want to brand that. You want to brand that internally. You need to make sure that that is seen and appreciated. And whether it's quarterly, biannually, or annually, whatever that is, it's what body of work is going to get you there. If I said to you, I want to meet with you quarterly, and I haven't done anything, you're going to find it annoying, frustrating, and why are we here? But that's just me wanting to get the check-in, right, selfishly. But if I'm coming to you saying, hey, look, this is what I've accomplished, and here's why I want to meet. I'm looking because I want to create a path towards this, and this is what I've done
Sure, that goes without saying. I'm not saying you just want to have a check-in and have a hug fest. What I'm saying is you take out your resume and you're like, okay, I'm currently a manager of R&D. Mm-hmm. In 4 years, my goal is to be director. In this company, you need to go to your supervisor and say, I want to be a director mm-hmm. in 4 years. And they're going to say, well, I don't know if I can or can't accommodate that. Well, wouldn't you want to know that, first of all? Mm-hmm. Second of all is, look, it's not a promise. I just want to know, what would you look at for a consideration for somebody maybe to get a head nod to a director? Mm-hmm. What experience do they need to have? What deliverables do they need to have? So now what you've got is what they're going to consider. Now what you need to do is you need to map your activity. Maybe that requires you to go back and get a master's degree, right? Then that goes into your plan. Maybe that requires you to secure 3 new customers that you weren't aware you needed to have that on the consideration. Maybe you need to take an international gig. If you think that you're just going to sit out there and be picked out of the litter to get a promotion, you're insane.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so that's what I mean by marketing. I mean by marketing is define what the customer wants to buy, i.e. that promotion that you're looking for, because them buying is giving you a promotion, right?
Exactly.
And then you need to start to market your background, your brand to them. And you've got to do that. If you think that your employer is not going to your LinkedIn profile while you're an employee there, you're insane. Okay? That's why you might not put your resume in front of them. But I can tell you how many clients I've had that I've been sitting in HR offices and I'll hear somebody come down the hall and they say, "Did you guys see that Susie Smith has updated her LinkedIn profile?"
Yes.
Okay? It happens a lot. But they're not looking at your resume because there's no reason to. It's the same thing we always tell people. Update your LinkedIn profile because nobody's seeing your resume.
Exactly.
Right? It's sitting in your inbox or on your desktop. So that's my point is if you're going to be marketing, find out what the market wants to buy, i.e. what do you need to do in order to promote yourself, and then put together a roadmap of deliverables. And then that is a marketing action towards getting what you want. Your sales tactics are the things that you need to do 3 months before you review and get the data points in front of the customer, right? Who's the person who's promoting you.
Yeah,
those are sales activities.
And that's the body of evidence.
That's the body of evidence and showing you've come from here to there with their, guidance direction.
Yeah.
So that's the sales marketing.
And I want to make sure we don't miss it because fundamentally I do see this piece as a gap sometimes with especially my younger individuals coming up 25 to 35 where they look at their resume, going back to your point, and say, I'm an R&D engineer, I want to be an R&D manager, I want to be this. Before you start collecting in order to check that box, make sure you're going through the exercise of your own self-awareness and why, because the why that you have, if it doesn't carry that same value or better with the organization that you're with, you are not, there's no real reason for them to give it to you unless they're plugging a hole, right? If you're going to them and you're saying, I want to be an R&D manager because I've been an R&D engineer for you for 3 years and I feel it's time. Well, you've been a good R&D engineer, but we really haven't seen the leadership quality, nor do we have that role or that need right now. There's no real value to the organization. Okay, so you're going to have to look outside the organization. Strategically, that's a piece of it. But what can you do in the meantime as you're still effectively running in your current role to get that experience that might be perceived as higher in value, either internally or externally? Perhaps it's a class, perhaps it's a project that you voluntarily take lead on. Perhaps it's something that you can do as an add-on outside of your day-to-day tasks. But just simply going and saying, I want this because I feel I've earned it or because I want to click up, I want to...
Yeah, but you've got to ask 2 years in advance. You can't ask 30 days before you raise. You've got to ask 2 years in advance.
Ask your employer?
Yes, I want to move to a director role. You don't go a quarter before and I want to be a manager, and you've not given them any runway to evaluate what it is that you claim you can do, demonstrate you can do, and show that they want to hold on to you or else.
Yeah, it's an ongoing conversation.
But you can't go 30 days in, 60 days in and say, maybe it doesn't set up. If we had somebody come to us today and say, I want to be a CFO, I'd be like, well, then you need to go get another job somewhere because I can't even create that role here.
Right.
But if I have somebody come to me say, I don't want to be a dyed-in-the-wool headhunter anymore, but I want to continue to work for your organization, and I see there's a need there. Now, we're a very entrepreneurial organization. That's not going to work in a J&J. That's not going to work in a Medtronic. So you've got to also know the game that you're playing.
Exactly, in the field you're playing.
But I just want to stay, I don't want to get off on some distant thing here. It's the subject, marketing and sales moves in your career, and what's a marketing move and what's a sales move?
Marketing moves are strategic, long-term, longer-term, and typically while you're gainfully employed. Would you say that? Well,
it depends. There's always short-term marketing moves. So there's always the big game and the little game, right? So if I am out of work, everything I'm doing is marketing and sales. My marketing plays are short-term marketing plays.
Short-term marketing plays, right?
Here's an example of a long-term marketing play that has very little short-term payoff with your current employer. And I see it all the time, and people are drunk by thinking it works. So you're a great employee. You get your BSME degree. You're out for 3 years. You say, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go nights for my MBA. Awesome. Waste of money, but awesome. I'm going to go nights for my MBA. And then when I get out with my MBA next Friday, I'm going to walk into my boss's office and say, I have an MBA now. You're the same person you are on Friday. If you plan on leveraging that MBA, you're going to have to leave your company. You cannot internally leverage that. They're not throwing a party for you, giving you a promotion. And I just want to keep it real here on expectations. So that's a really long-term move, going for an MBA.
Right.
Right? That you cannot get play on in your current employer.
Without, the caveat on that would be, without the actual experience or attributes. They're showing attributes that have demonstrated they're ready to be put in a leadership role.
MBA and leadership have nothing to do with each other.
Well, if they want to be Mr. Manager, they certainly do. If they go into their boss on week
Holly,
2
how many
with
searches
their
have we
degrees,
had that they said MBA maps directly to leadership?
No, agreed.
Yeah.
They rarely require it, maybe in a marketing role. But if the person is mapping from the balance and leadership qualities perspective towards leadership, and they complete their MBA, and they go to their manager internally or whatever, and perhaps it's a company that has supported their MBA, they could have opportunities open up internally.
On Monday? Suddenly?
Well, no, agreed.
That's my point.
Not overnight.
No. That's my point, is
Yeah.
if you're going for an MBA and you finish it on Friday and you show up to work in the same cubicle farm on Monday,
Right.
nothing's going to happen.
Oh, and by the way, you've taken off every other Friday because you had to finish your coursework. So
But that's my point, is
games.
people have to have
Yeah.
some sensibility about their moves, their marketing moves.
Yeah.
Again,
It's
going
gotta be
after the
long-term.
MBA, total marketing move. And total marketing move that you could only leverage if you leave your employer 99% of the time.
Yeah, and even that I caution you to, because
I mean, I use the word only, not all the time. You could only leverage if you leave your current employer and you want to go shop that. But if you think that they believe you're a different person on Monday morning, no, not going to happen.
Yeah, no, very true. Do it for self-interest, self-growth, to give you those attributes that they're going to be looking for, again, that are going to add value to what they're looking to do. That's you have to figure out where you're at, what field you're on, the game you're in, where the value is going to be for them. Does that map to what you want to do, what you see and define as growth, career development? If that's where you want your resume to be in a few years, then you could be right on the right track. Otherwise, be careful and think through those moves, and those meetings and staying on top of it are excellent ways to show them that you are proactive and that you are looking to grow and you do have ambition, so everyone's on the same page and driving towards it. And stand guard at the value that you add in your current employer while you're doing it.
Yeah, it's just I want to come back, keeping us on focus. Marketing moves, sales moves. The sales moves are always things that are going to happen in a 30-day window that you can deploy on day 1 of a month, and by day 30 you actually have a very, very tangible outcome. Anything that is outside of that is a marketing move, right? So just make sure when you make your moves and you know what you're trying to do, understand that you're not mixing up marketing and sales, and then all of your moves, out of 10 moves, 8 of them should be marketing, 2 of them should be sales. And the sales moves, if you're not looking for a job, need to be indexing towards your review period. If you're looking for a job, your sales moves need to be for a sales role. If you're not looking for a job, your marketing moves are much longer term moves within a career path within an organization, and you should look at them appropriately. And the way you make your marketing plan, very simple, ladies and gentlemen, is you look at your resume and you want to know, what do I want this resume to look at while I'm here at this employer? Map it out exactly what you want it to look like, and then you go to your employer and you get them to give you the opportunity to fill those gaps. That's it. That's as simple as that. If you're going to have a 30-year career and you really want to get ahead, that's the way you need to do it, is you need to constantly be looking at your resume and how are you going to change it, and those are all marketing moves.
Yeah, staying ahead of it.
So 80-20 marketing to sales, our advice, you're going to see a lot more advice coming out of our organization that is less about job search and a lot more about career development and mindset in careers. And again, I bring that up because that's where a large majority of our audience is. They're not looking for a job. So I want to continue to bring tremendous value on the things that we hear in the organization, cumulatively thousands of times a week on phone calls about what people's career goals and aspirations are. So look for a little more content geared towards that from us as to how we might be able to have you think about your career, manage your career, drive your career. And a lot of it is not going to be the standard stuff. If you've listened to us at all over the last few years, a lot of it's going to be a lot of the crap stripped away on things that you're really going to be able to execute on.
Yeah.
Because sometimes your company will give you a line to have you follow because it's easier that way and you're easier to manage. And I won't allow that to happen to you.
No, we want to empower you to have the career that you want, that you dream of, because that's what it's all about. We get one go in it, right?
One go.
Yeah.
Anyway, another episode of On the Line. I'm Joe Mullings.
And I'm Holly Scott.
And we'll speak to you all soon. Be well.